Welcome to the next session of Programming for Problem Solving. The topic for the day is functions. Now, what is a function? A function in C is a block containing group of statements that together perform a task. Every C program has at least one function which is main, and all the most vital programs can define additional functions. Now, it is clear that you need to define at least one function in your C program to successfully compile it. The name of that function is main. It is also called the entry point of the C program. The first line that is actually executed is inside the main function. So you cannot write or successfully compile a program without a main function. So there has to be at least one function in the C program. Now, depending upon the complexity of the program, you can create additional functions in the same program, or you can create additional functions in other files and include those files in your program. Advantages of the functions. There are several advantages of function. So here in this slide, we have listed some of the key advantages of the function. The first key advantage of function is code reusability. Now, code reusability means when we are working on very large projects, most of the basic functionality of the projects is the same. So once we create a function that helps us achieve some functionality, we can reuse that functionality in the upcoming projects without having to rewrite them. So it saves our effort, both in terms of money, time, and uh, programmers. तो कोड रीयूजेबिलिटी हमें एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड करती है जिससे हमें प्रोग्राम को दोबारा से लिखने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है एंड it is reusable in its form in which it has been developed. Lesser complexity. Now, if you have a single large function and the whole coding has been written in that one function, then the understanding of that program becomes very complex. The obvious way to reduce the complexity is to break that large program into smaller functions, with each function actually able to process one specified task, with which it makes it easy for the reader to understand the logic flow of the program. Fast debugging. Now, debugging is an important feature of any project or a program. If there is no error in the program, it may successfully compile, but sometimes it does not give you the exact answer or the correct answer as per the expectancy. So what is the need here is to debug the program and find out the actual error or the mistake in the program. Now, if you have a single function in which thousands or lakhs of lines are written, it is very difficult to debug where the exact problem is. By breaking a large program into smaller functions and calling those functions one by one, it is easy to debug as to which function was not able to return the proper value, and hence it makes the process of debugging much easier. Recursive solutions. Functions provide you with a facility called recursive functions, which are capable of solving the looping programs in a much convenient manner and a simple manner. So recursive functions have been discussed later in some other section. So, but still recursive procedures or recursive functions are very important aspect of the C programming language, as they help us to solve large complex problems with simple definitions. Categories of functions. In C programming, the functions are broadly divided into two categories. One is called the library functions and the other one is called the user defined functions. Library functions are a set of functions that comes with the compiler. So a programmer need not worry about how to define those functions. It can simply call those ready-made functions and achieve the objectivity. For example, like accepting the input or displaying the output on the screen. There is no need for the programmer to worry how it is going to interact with the input device and accept the input. For that, it can use an inbuilt function called the scanf. And to display the message on the screen, it can use the printf function. Now, these functions are prototyped or declared inside the header files. For you to use these functions, you need to include these header files into your program. But the actual definition or coding of these functions is not there in the header files. The definition of these functions is available in the library files, and these library files are embedded into your source code during the linking process. What are user defined functions? Other than the library functions which are available with the compiler, a programmer can also create its own functions. C++ provides you with a mechanism where you can create your own functions and then reuse those functions in the upcoming programs. How to create a user defined function? In order to implement the concept of functions, we must understand the three concepts that are listed below. So what we need to do is we need to understand these three concepts in order to use the user defined functions. The first one is called function prototype. Function prototype is also known as function declaration. Then the function call statement, and the last is the function definition. Now, what is a function prototype? A function must be prototyped before it can be used. Prototyping is very important because when we place a call to a function, the compiler must be aware that such a function exists. If the compiler does not have any knowledge about that function or the prototype of that function, it is going to generate an compiler error. It is not going to look after the coding of the function at the time of compilation, but the prototype is very important. If the compiler fails to find the prototype or declaration of the function at the compile time, the program will give an error such as a function not found or prototype of the function not found. Now, what is included in the function prototype? The function declaration or prototype gives the basic structural information about the function being created. Now, what is that structural information? It contains the return type of the function name, and the list of arguments that we are going to pass to the function. You can see for an example, at the bottom, a function has been created. The name of the function is add. So this is a user defined function, and the name of the function is add, as you can see here. The return type of the function is integer. So the function is expected to return a value which will be of integer data type. A function may also not return a value. In case a function does not return a value, the return type of the function will be void. Now, in certain cases, you might see in the programs, a function does not have a return type. In case the function return type is not mentioned, the default return type of a function in C programming language is integer. The third part is called the argument list, as you can see here. It contains three parameters. So we are going to pass three arguments to the function, and the data type of the three functions will be integer. So this is all about the function prototype. A function prototype is important, as I have already told you, because the compiler needs to be aware of the fact that such a function actually exists. The next is called the function call statement. In order to use a function, we must call that function. Once we place a call to the function, the compiler looks for the prototype of that function. If it is able to find the prototype of that function call statement or the compiler actually compiles the program. Now let's have a look into what is a function call statement. A function call statement is explicitly used to run a function. compiler looks for the declaration or prototype of a function that matches with the prototype of the function call statement. Now, what happens when the compiler finds or encounters a function call statement during the compilation? What it will do is it will find a match to the prototype of the function call statement with some function having the same prototype. If the two prototypes match, then the compiler generates no error. If the compiler fails to find any function with the same prototype as of the function call statement, then it generates a compiler error. Now let's have a look into the example here. Sum is equals to add a comma b. So first of all, it will look for a function whose name is add. Then two arguments have been passed, a and b. It will check for what is the data type of a and b. Let us suppose if the data type of a and b is integer and the data type of sum is also integer, then it will look for a prototype of a function with return type as integer, name as add, and argument list as integer comma integer. If it finds it, then it is okay. If it does not find it, then it will generate an error. The next is function definition. This is the core part of any function. The function definition contains the actual coding related to the task that the function is expected to perform. A function definition contains the code. A function definition in C programming language consists of a function header as the first line, followed by the function body. So what does a function definition consist of? It consists of two things. The first is called the function header, and the second one is called the block of statements, also known as the body of the function. So what is a function header? The function header actually consists of three components. One is called the return type, and the second one is called the function name, and the third is called the parameter list. It is quite similar to the function prototype. The return type is mentioned integer. The name of the function is add. Now, instead of mentioning only the data types of the arguments, the three formal arguments have also been created, like A, B, and C. Now, like I have used an interesting term here is called an formal argument. We have two types of arguments. One is called the formal argument, the other one is called the actual argument. The arguments that we pass in the function call statement are called the actual arguments, and the arguments that we use in the function header, like in this case a, b, and c, these are called the formal arguments. So this is called the function header. So this will be the first line of the function definition, then followed by the curly braces, which describes the body of the function. Return statement. Return statement is an important statement of any function. Return statement is used in a function to return to the function call statement. Now let us suppose if we have a main function. If the main function contains a function call statement to some other function, then the control of the program jumps to that function. So what is the role of the return statement? The return statement actually returns the control of flow or the execution back to the main function where the return statement is placed. So what are the different properties of a function? A return statement can be used to return 0 or 1 value. So you can have a function with a return statement. It can return 0 or a maximum of 1 value. 0 means a function does not return any value, so the return type of the function is void. And if it does return any value, it can return a maximum of 1 value. A function can have multiple return statements. Now, whenever a return statement is encountered, we exit from the execution of the function. So why there are multiple return statements in a function? because sometimes the execution of a return statement or multiple return statements is based upon some condition. For example, if the condition is true, then execute the return statement 1, else execute the return statement 2. So even if we have multiple return statements within a function, only one of it can execute. And once that return statement is executed, we exit from the function. A function that does not return a value may not require a return statement. It is not mandatory to have a return statement when the function does not return any value. Whenever we complete with the execution of the function automatically, or the control automatically returns to the function call statement. So a return statement is very important part of the function. Local and global variables. This is very important concept if you are studying functions. Local variables are the ones which are declared inside the function, inside any function for that matter. So once you declare any function or prototype any, sorry, once you prototype any variable as a local variable inside any function, that function, that variable can only be accessed within that function. So in case you have three functions within a single program and you create a local variable inside the function 1, then that local variable cannot be accessed inside the function 2 and function 3. Whereas a global variable is prototyped or declared outside all the functions in a program. So it is not part, or the prototype is not part of any function. Now, if a function or a variable is declared outside all the functions, then it can be accessed from all the functions within a program. For example, if you create a global variable in a program and you have three functions in that program, then that global variable can be accessed inside all the three functions. There are many other differences between local variables and global variables as well. A global variables happen to retain its value. So for example, if the value to a global variable is assigned inside the one function, then that same value can be accessed from the second function. Whereas in a local variable, if the execution of the function is terminated, that local variable is destroyed. So when you again call that function, the local variable is again created. But in case of global variable, a global variable is created when you start with the execution of the program, and it terminates when the execution of the program is terminated. In case you have a local variable with the same name as a global variable, then only the local variable can be accessed in that function. Now, this is an important concept. For example, if I create a global variable with the name A, and I also create a local variable with the same name A inside any function, and if I try to print the value of A, then it will print the value of the local variable. Now, if you have the global and local variable with the same name, there is no mechanism in C programming language to access the global variable in that function. C++ does provide a mechanism to access the global variable using the scope resolution operator, but in C programming, there is no provision to access the global variable if there exists a local variable with the same name. Now here is an example of a local and global variable. Now a global variable has been declared before the main function. So that means this global variable has been declared outside the main function. So this is a global variable. And here you have a local variable inside the main function. So this is a local variable and this is a global variable. The value of the global variable is 1 and the value of the local variable is 2. Interestingly, there is another block that has been created inside the main function, and a second local variable has been created, which is called the very local. Now very local variable is actually limited to this scope only. So this very local variable will be destroyed when you actually reach this point during the execution of the program. So the scope of the very local is limited to this, and the scope of the local variable is limited to this function, whereas the scope of the global variable is in throughout the program. If you have multiple functions, then it can be accessed within the multiple functions as well. Example of a user defined function. So this is a program of how to create a user defined function. So here we have a function named float sum. There are two arguments in it, x and y. Due to the shortage of the space, the function prototype has not been given in this slide. So what will be the function prototype for this? That can be written before the function main. The prototype of this function will be float sum bracket starts float comma float semicolon. So that means the name of the function is sum, the return type will be float, and it will accept two arguments which are of float type. So within the function, as you can see here, this is called the function call statement. Here we are calling the sum function and two arguments are being passed. One is 10 and the second one is 20. Now these two are called the actual arguments. Whatever the value returned by the function sum, it will be stored in the variable result. Now when you call, or the function call statement is executed during the execution, as you can see this arrow number 1, the execution of the program will jump from this statement to the function sum. Now here a local variable has been created, result. The result is x plus y. Now what is x and y? X and y are two formal arguments. 10 and 20 are two actual arguments. So the value 10 will be assigned to the formal argument x and value 20 will be assigned to the formal argument y. When we say result is equals to x plus y, result will become 10 plus 20 is equals to 30. Now this result is returned with the help of the return statement, and this result, as you can see here in arrow number 2, the result value will be assigned to the result which is local to the main function, and here the answer will be printed. So what is the flow of execution of this program? This is the first line that will be executed. This is the second line that will be in execution, not completely. And then this will be the third line. We will reach here. Then we will execute this line. Then we will execute this line. Now this line is used to return. So we will return back to the function call statement, and the result will be assigned to the variable result. And then this will be the last statement to be executed in this example. I hope this example is clear to you. With the help of this, you can create any number of functions. The basic programs that you write, for example, finding the sum of two numbers, swapping two numbers, finding the factorial of any number, converting the digits into figure, you can create any number of user defined functions. In the next lectures, in the next coming topics, we will see what are the different methods using which we can pass arguments to a function, and also we will see how we can create recursive functions. Thank you. I hope this topic was very useful to you, and you will all join me for the next topic, that is called the parameter passing to a function. Till then, goodbye.